Welcome to Refuel with Jennifer Ballou. Join Jennifer for the next hour for a time to recharge, refresh, and refuel your heart and soul. Here's your host, Jennifer Ballou.
Hey everyone, welcome to the show. I'm so happy to have you here with me on Refuel. So, last week I kind of told you what we were going into, this kind of new series. And I say series because I feel like there's a lot to pack into this, and with a shorter show version, I'm expecting it to be several weeks anyway. And God just keeps giving me more and more revelation into this. So, it could be a while here that we're going to be talking about spring cleaning. And I am not talking about our homes, even though that is a subject I could go on and on about, because I do love, really emptying out rooms and cleaning the physical places we live. But right now I'm talking about doing that same thing within ourselves, in our hearts, in our thought processes, in our spiritual rooms. We are going to be doing some spring cleaning. Multiple times in the Bible, God talks about home. When we think of heaven, we think of going home. So we know that home is a really important place, and it's not necessarily a physical place that it is. As women, I think that is just something that's ingrained in us, to really create places that are a safe refuge for our loved ones in this, environment we know as home. But that's also true of where we live spiritually. That home is a place that encompasses more than four walls, that we can be a place of refuge and peace, that that we lay this foundation, that God is the center of, that Jesus is the foundation in our lives, and we build home there. I was reading through a book. It's called Cultivate. It's from cagelessbirds.com is where you can get these books, and this organization, and they have a whole series. It's amazing. But I pulled this one out and I was reading through it, and the phrase that really caught me, and I just want to kind of go into it really quickly, is that they said, fly high, build home. And she goes on to talk about how this just kind of came out of her mouth, and when they were kind of vision casting for different things. And she said, we fly high, but we build home. And it was one of those moments that kind of just encompassed everyone in the room. And I felt that when I read this, that it is such a thing that our culture puts on us, to fly high, to, spread your wings, to go big. And y'all know that is a big part of who I am, to dream big and to really instill that in people and go, okay, let's go bigger. But there needs to be home to be able to fly from. I hope that makes sense. Here's how she wrote it. She said, we live in a culture that puts extreme importance on flying high, and yet little value on what consumes the majority of our lives: home. If our flying high moments are not rooted in home, they can become a tireless journey of reaching for unattainable goals, figuring out our calling in our own strength, and asking ourselves over and over, what am I here for? It is so important to learn to build home in the inner chambers of our hearts. It is a place we plant and watch love, patience, kindness, gentleness, joy, peace, goodness, faithfulness, and self-control grow into an orchard. And the fruit of this orchard is eternal. And she goes on to talk a little bit more, and then I just, kind of glancing over this, one sentence in here, it just says, Jesus created home everywhere. And if we are called to be like Jesus, that is something that we need to concentrate on and look at doing ourselves, creating home everywhere. And we want that home to be a place of peace and refuge. And it cannot happen if it is cluttered, full of things that, we are just holding on to and cluttering up our lives. I don't know about you, but there are closets in my house that, the kids brought that home. Let's just stick it in here. Or I'm not ready to let go of that, so I'm going to put it in this closet right here. It's tucked away nice and neat, but I'm just not quite ready to let it go. And that's the kind of spring cleaning we need to start doing in our lives, is letting God take those things out and examine them. See what needs to continue to be stored, because there are some things that still need to be stored. They're useful items. There are some things that we are holding on to because of sentimental reasons, or because we are just not in a place where we are ready to let that offense go, or let that memory, that traumatic memory maybe even go, that we haven't gotten into a place where we are willing to let God heal those areas. And it's time to pull those things out of storage and let Him work through them with us. I'm just going to grab my notes here and kind of, go through some of this. In Psalms 139, verses 23 through 24, it says, God, I invite your searching gaze into my heart. Examine me through and through. Find out everything that may be hidden within me. Put me to the test and sift through all my anxious cares. See if there is in any path of pain I'm walking on, and lead me back to your glorious, everlasting way, the path that brings me back to you. And this is what we are, wanting to achieve with this spring cleaning that we are about to go through. We are laying everything out for God to look at, to examine, to walk us through. Like I said, there are some things that are beneficial that we need to keep in storage. There are some things that we need to keep out on display so that we can see them all the time, and so that the rest of the world knows this is a safe home. This is a safe home. It's a place of refuge, that God is the center of this home, that He is the foundation. There are some things in your storage that we need to go through. We need to get rid of. We're not even donating that stuff. We are throwing it in the junk pile. There may be things, I don't know, God hasn't really shown me how that works, but there may be some things to donate and to, hand out. I think there's other things that we need to pull out and look at and refurbish, find a new place for. There may be things that have been on display that need to go into storage. All those kind of things that you would think of that you typically do in your actual physical house in a spring cleaning, refreshing the house kind of a thing. We want to look at doing that in this home as well. Especially, I think we go into spring cleaning in the physical because the winter season has ended. It's fairly new into the year. we start to get the sunshine and feel that, excitement of just new life and new things like that. But we want to finish the season well. We want to go into a new time, a new season with fresh eyes, with fresh vision. We want to re-look at the things that we have brought from the past season into this season. We want to just really take the time to do a spiritual spring cleaning. We want to look at patterns. We want to look at areas. I don't know about you, but in my home, I have some shelves by my kitchen sink on either side, kind of like these, where I change those out seasonally. That I love decorating for fall, winter, Christmas, Thanksgiving, even Valentine's Day, Easter, just in the summer, everything. I change that out all the time, and it's not like I have found I've put pieces up there before, and then it comes around to the next season, which is, like right now is Easter. I've decorated those shelves and put those things up. And then suddenly I find myself with pieces that I'm like, that doesn't go there. I don't know. I know it went there at one point. I've used it up there before, but it's really not finding a place for that right now. And I think, I work with it, I mess with it, I try to fit it in, but it just doesn't work. And I think a lot of times in our own lives, we try to do that. We try to fit ourselves into something that maybe the season has changed and we're not fitting into that place anymore. Or, or we try to fit a job in, there's just so many different things that we try our hardest to make them work. And, we just need to take a step back and say, that doesn't fit anymore. Like, let's move on. It just doesn't. And that's okay. We need to be okay with things changing and not getting offended and hurt when they don't. When God, and that's even true with people in our lives. Sometimes it fits, sometimes it doesn't. It's just the season has changed. Things are different. We move on. And we ask God, how does this fit in my life right now? Does it fit in my life? What do I need to do with this relationship or this job or this particular thought process? Whatever it may be, we need to find the place where we can really look at things without feeling so attached to them. I hope that makes sense. There's sometimes, especially decorating shelves, that's one of my favorite things to do, is just kind of doing tablescapes and different things like that. But there's sometimes you get something that's competing for attention when all of it needs to be really focused on this beautiful vase. And you get some other piece in there, and really those things are competing for attention. And we need to, again, look in our own lives and see, is this job and this job and this job, what is something competing for attention here, and one needs to go. We need to allow God to clean those things out. We need to stand there with open hands saying, what do we do here? I want you to look at this, God, and I want you to tell me what this should look like. What is competing for attention? What needs to go? What needs to stay? How does one complement the other? And all of that kind of stuff. Our world is changing by the minute. We need to be okay with that. We need to let go of getting offended because the world is changing, but really to simplify our lives by placing our burdens on Jesus. We have to examine every area, and there are places within ourselves. I know that we've opened that drawer before. We saw how nasty and ugly and the roaches and the poo and the whatever was in it, and we slammed that sucker shut, and we are like, I am not ever opening that drawer again. And God is saying it's time to open those things and look in there. We've got to start cleaning out and simplifying, because simplifying gets us back to our focus being on Jesus. In this process, we want to ask the Holy Spirit to bring conviction to our hearts of what isn't pleasing to Him, because I can guarantee you that drawer full of roaches is not very pleasing to Him. And what isn't of benefit to us as His children. If you have kids, you know everything that you do, you want it to benefit your kids. And God is no different. He loves us far more than we love our own children. And so He wants things to benefit us, and we need to be willing to ask Him, is this benefiting me? Me trying to fit in here, is that part of your plan? Is this benefiting me? Or am I just trying to put a square peg in a round hole? Because sometimes that fight does benefit you. So we need to make sure that that fight is what He's calling us to, and it's not something that's just cluttering up our lives. We have filled our lives with cheap, broken, hand-me-down substitutes for the real treasures that are available to us as God's children. Just going through our homes sometimes, especially when, like for me right now, our bedrooms look nothing like they did a few years ago because of kids moving in and out and around in this place and that place, and then, hey Mom, I don't have room for this, and bring it back to my house. And I got so frustrated just recently looking in those rooms. I thought, oh my gosh, get rid of all of it. Like I am not going to be sentimentally tied to any of these things. I just want it gone. If you check Facebook Marketplace, you might find a few of those things right now. Because I just was like, this is ridiculous. I have hand-me-downs. I have cheap substitutes. I have just junk filling up these rooms because I felt bad about like getting rid of it or spending the money to put the things that I actually want in there. So that's not benefiting to me. It's not benefiting to the restfulness and peacefulness of my home. And that is something I think we do within our own lives. We put broken hand-me-downs, substitutes, whatever. We fill ourselves up with those things when we need to be filling ourselves up with the treasures that God has laid out for us, and that is Him. And we need to be aware that we are doing that. And again, in this spring cleaning season, we ask God to show us what those items are. What are the items that we are looking at that are broken, cheap substitutes that we are trying to replace His peace, His restfulness, His goodness with? And that's another thing when we are looking at simplifying. There's 3 things that we want to look at: faith, focus, and function. Because with those, when we move by faith, with focus into the function of simplicity, blessings abound. And that is, isn't that the ultimate goal, to have blessings abound? We need to move into this season of spring cleaning by faith. There's going to be a lot of things that we have to walk through by faith to really get down to the function of things so that we can function better. We are building the kingdom in a bigger, broader way. I know for myself, when I am not in a place where I can function like this, my process of ushering the kingdom in becomes smaller and smaller because I'm not functioning as well as I could be. And so again, this whole spring cleaning thing we need to get into so that we can move the kingdom forward. In the process of cleaning out, I don't know if you've ever done this, but when I do an organization project, I empty the room completely. Like, there's a closet, we pull it all out. It is spread out. My husband asks me to please only do this when he will be gone on a trip for a weekend or something, because it stresses him out because it is such a mess. And sometimes I get overwhelmed by that mess as well. And I know a lot of people, you pull it out, there's a huge mess, and then you're like, just burn it all. Like, I don't want anything. But we have to understand that that mess is part of the process. And that's true in our own lives. That sometimes we have to be able to recognize that that God uses the unfortunate and uncomfortable events to steer us into His will and into His ways. That is part of the cleaning out process, that when we get through that mess, we come out more refined, that mess has been cleaned up, that we have learned new things, that we have a new beautiful object to display in our lives because of that mess. And that it's part of the process when we strip away the things that clutter and that it obstruct our view. Obviously, then we can see, we have better vision because we've cleared those things away. We have made room for more of God when we go through that process. And when we are cleaning and emptying, and simplifying, we can enjoy His blessings and Him. We can enjoy our lives and live them more abundantly, more out loud for the rest of the world to see and catch a glimpse of who He is. And we see with clarity the path set before us. Because again, our vision has been cleared. That obstructed view is gone. We can see clearly. We can move in the direction that He wants us to move in. We can go into those places and fit everything in that He needs us to fit in. And this is how we create home within ourselves and within who we are and who we have been made to be. We create this environment that speaks of home. And like I said earlier in the Cageless Birds, I guess I'm going to call it a devotional. I don't know. It's a workbook. It's awesome. I recommend every one of them. They're so incredible. But Jesus created home everywhere He went. We want to do the same. We want to be a place. And I know that sounds weird, but when we go through this process, we are creating a place. We're creating an atmosphere that surrounds us, that we can walk into a place and, call in heaven, call in the things of God, because the storage room has been cleared of anything that doesn't belong there, so we can reach the things that we need. The objects on display reflect Him and His glory, that we can abide in that resting place in Him because of this process. And I think that is how we enter into this new season, going forward in this fresh, updated, well-kept house. Now, does that mean it's going to stay that way? I don't know about you, but my house doesn't stay that way. And I spring clean. Not just in the spring. So, because, things happen and we are going to put more things in storage and that kind of thing. This needs to become something that we do on a regular basis so that we can step into that place where we are ushering in God at all times, that we are living that abundant life, that we are enjoying the lives that He has laid out before us, regardless of whether it looks like a hunky-dory day or whatever, that, we are enjoying our relationships with God and with other people. That is where I see this focus that God is, putting on my heart of spring cleaning, that this is how this is moving forward, of really tapping into some of those things. Now, that being said, we have to go on a journey of discovering us and what things are blocking, what things are that we have put in storage that are blocking, cluttering the rest of the way to get to the things we need, that are, obstructing the view and all of those things. And that is one of the things we're going to start working on and looking at next week. So be sure and come back here next Sunday and join me again as we, start this spring cleaning process. And I hope this is something that you are looking forward to and that you want to dive into. Hey guys, thanks for joining me today. So be sure and comment below. Would love to hear from you what your thoughts are on spring cleaning your lives or your home. Anything from the workbooks from Cageless Birds to whatever else we listed in the description below. Hopefully I can't even cross my fingers. Hopefully I've figured that out by now. Also, please go visit our page on Facebook and Instagram. Like and comment on those pages so we can get the word out about Refuel. Just because people need God and we want to share Jesus with the rest of the world. And it takes your help doing that with all the crazy algorithms and all that stuff. So anyway, comment, like, share, have fun, and let's do some spring cleaning this week. Bye guys.